Hey.
Hey!
Hey. It worked.
It worked. What's up?
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. You got your Pinot. I should have came with a drink.
It's all good. No, I'm not gonna corrupt you like that. You're great, just as things are. So, I appreciate you for joining me.
Thanks for having
Uh, Always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. Uh, as an enlightened woman, it it's a lot easier on for me to have conversations like this than it is, the club conversation, if you will, which doesn't consist of much. So I wanted to highlight you because I guess the purpose of why I'm doing this is just to expose people that I know, um, to artists in a way that they might not be traditionally exposed to them. I'm not your traditional person who's interviewing or asking questions to anyone, so I'm
Mhm.
asking them more from an artist's creative standpoint. So I
Yeah.
definitely wanted to include you. I thought of you immediately. Um, so let me ask you this, um, and I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. YEA, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start there. All right.
From YA. Yep.
So I've only heard stories, but I've obviously met a lot of people in the Atlanta area who have been a part of that conglomerate,
Hmm.
that ensemble, if you will, at one point in time or another. So, can you explain to those who are watching what YEA is and kind of that part of your story?
Yeah. Essentially, it's like a youth theater program. But I was the last generation of Freddie's babies. So Freddie Hendrix founded and started YEA, Freddie
Okay.
Hendrix Youth Ensemble of Atlanta. Then later on he left, and then it was just YEA. But I came in right before he was getting ready to leave. So
Wow.
I'm I am so grateful that I got to be trained by him because it's unlike anything
Oh
you
yeah.
ever know. I actually, Omar Dorsey was in town a few weeks ago, right before all this stuff started. And we went out just to hang out and stuff. And I did not know that Omar was from YEA. He's from like
Really?
older generation. So we like had this whole bonding experience over YEA and how special it is and how special Freddie Hendrix was and all the amazing talent that came from that one man. It's really ridiculous.
What do you
Keenan
think is
Thompson, Saquon, just yeah.
Yeah. What do you think it's like to be trained or to go through the training process of a career with people who look like you? Because that's not an experience most people of color go through when they decide to pursue the arts. Like where I'm from, if you
Hmm.
decide to pursue some type of formal training in voice or in acting or theater or
Hmm.
anything like that, you're going to find yourself in a large minority. So what was that like? Do you feel it? Do you feel like your confidence really came? Like, was that a place where
Oh,
confidence came
absolutely.
from for you?
Yeah, I mean, to see people looking like me and having the same interest and passion, I definitely like found my little tribe. And all of a sudden, I had this whole family that I have been looking for. And it's, yeah, like you said, rare that something like that happens. And we were all super hyper aware that we were Black kids in inner city Atlanta doing, some amazing art and work and learning and creating. We were very aware of it. A lot of the pieces and work that came from YA were centered around Black lives, Black experiences, and African experiences as well. So I think it definitely shaped and formed us even before. I feel like Atlanta is like Black Mecca for, um, like all the way Black incense and shea butter and all
Yeah.
this stuff. I feel like we kind of started that, but I feel like YA was on it before it became a trendy thing. Like that's just what it was and
Wow.
who we were. And yeah, it was an honor. I don't know if I realized it at the time, being so young, growing up in it, how special that was. But definitely as I've gotten older and not seeing those same experiences replicated for so many other people, I'm hyper aware that that was a very unique and special experience. It really was.
Do you feel like I'm not going to jump around too much, but I was going to ask you this question. Do you feel like when you grow up in the arts and you have an appreciation for the arts like you do, that there's ever a point in time where you have to choose between the arts that you love?
Like which medium?
Like yeah, like act like you
Oh
know
my
from the
God, all
acting work.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, less so as I've come more into myself, but it's like, yeah, people don't think you can be more than one thing or be good at more than one thing. It's like, oh, well, which one do you do? Like, do you
Yeah.
sing? Do you act? Or do you dance? And then there's like, oh, the triple threat, but it's only like a very rare special thing, you know? But I think art is so vast and you can be good at so many different types of art. And I think, what is it, multidisciplinary artist is a thing that used to be like, oh, this avant-garde cool thing. But I think every artist is a
Yeah.
multidisciplinary artist. I think we all, if you're creative, you're rarely creative in one thing. You're just creative in your being and your person. So whatever you do is creative. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel like it's more accepted now than it
Yeah, for
used to
sure.
be. Um, yeah, I used to get a question a lot like, well, what do you do? Like, or you can't do more than one thing, even in genres of music. Like, it had to be like one very specific thing. But
True.
I feel like lines in life, period, have opened up as time has gone on, which is a beautiful thing all across the board.
Yeah. I read a quote that Singer's Room gave about you.
They say,
And it 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 described your sound as a blend of jazz, soul, and folk.
hmm,
Agree?
I would agree with that. I mean, it's really hard to define what it is because we are all influenced by everything we've ever heard, right? If I think if I had to put it in some things, that would be what it would be.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
So what about jazz is so complex, if you I'm
Hmm.
sure uh the purists, right? The classic jazz purists, if you get
Hmm.
around those cats, they can be pretty militant about jazz and what it is and everything like that. And I remember first getting into jazz years ago by default, but I was curious for you, what is it about the genre of jazz
Hmm.
that moved you, to be influenced by it? Because I don't want to say it's a choice by what you allow your in terms of what you allow yourself to be influenced by, because some of that is environmental, but there is a point in time where you gravitate towards certain things. So what was it about jazz out of those, you know, three genres, let's say, that attracted you to it specifically?
You know, I started listening to jazz when I was like 9 or 10 on my own. Um,
Wow.
and that's only because my mom used to take me to these estate sales and she found like some old Billie Holiday cassettes and some old Sarah Vaughan cassettes. And I started, that was mine. You know, like when you get something as a kid, you're like, this is mine. I got my thing. And so that's what I had to listen to, you know, outside of what my parents were playing all the time, which was a variety of stuff, including jazz, but that was mine that I spent time with on my own. And I think just, yeah, subconsciously, it became the thing that I loved that made my heart like swoon a little bit, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Um, and then as I got older, I just kind of fell in love with the freeness of it. Just being as a vocalist, just being able to make up stuff and go as you please. And the trust that is there. I think every band has trust with their band members, but I feel like in jazz it becomes like a whole nother thing because you have to constantly be listening, and allowing and listening and allowing. And I feel like I kind of just fell into this. I don't know if Kenny's still on here, but if he's here, hey. But I kind of fell into this like um, little jazz community in Atlanta, and they kind of just took me in, and I feel like they have helped me cultivate who I am in my jazz persona, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I'm not for a purist jazz at heart musician. I am not, you know, the scatting here traditional jazz. I think it's a blend of what I've just naturally come into being. And I think I've been really lucky to find a band of musicians who allow me to grow and write and create, and they
Yeah.
do it with me and let me, you know, let me have space.
That's
Basically.
what's up. And shout out to Kenny Banks Jr. as well as Charles Lamont.
Kenny, hey,
Uh,
hey, Jerry.
so so when it comes to when it comes to your who would you say your top three vocalists are then?
Oh, that's hard. Ugh.
I know. For the day, let's just say your top three of today, the first three that come to mind.
Uh, a Mellaroo comes to mind. Um, let's see. I really love Gretchen Parlato. Um, there's so many because I mean I love different people for different things.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
I would say Esperanza Spalding, just in general, is an inspiration
Yeah.
to me. But even outside of jazz, like I really love Emily King. There's so many, you know. But
Yeah.
I think when I listen to my voice and be like, oh, this is, I feel like this is something that's similar that I can like pull and connect to, it will probably be a Mellaroo.
Gotcha. That's a great one. Wow.
Which
Yes.
I
Yes.
haven't gotten to see her live because she's been here, I think, twice
Oh
in the last
wow. Yeah, I haven't seen her. I've
year.
never seen her live. Wow.
But I really want to see her live somewhere.
When it comes to the openness, you talked about the openness and the trust that, you know, you've been developing with your bandmates. When it comes to creating original material, you know,
Mm-hmm.
there's I don't want to say there's only so much time, you know, for every particular recording, if you will. But how do you balance when in the creation of music of your own? How do you balance that feeling of allowing the song to be open and breathe with the somewhat of the confines of actually creating different sections and when those sections are going to come?
Mm-hmm. Usually when I'm writing, I start off with guitar, writing something on my own. Not a guitar player like you, but I do. But it has been my tool for being able to create. And I really enjoy the process of allowing other people in to help make it grow. And
Yeah,
I think it just grows to a point where people feel good about it. You know, like you listen back to your little voice recordings you've done on your phone or something, and there comes a point where you just gotta let it go too. Expect even in the recording process, when you get that far, it's like you get to this point where you've done what you can do,
yeah,
and, and you got to let it go. And I remember with my last album, I can't remember who told me this, but someone was like, everything that you record and do is just um, it's a snapshot of you in that period, in
yeah,
that time, and it may never be perfect because we're never perfect, and you got to just agree and accept that this is a representation of you at this moment, and then go on to the next thing and let it go. But the process of it growing and stuff, I really do love.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
So would you say that's the way this new material has come together for you?
yeah,
Okay.
yes. We've been working on it for it's about a year and a half or two now.
Okay.
And it started with just one song, and you know it grows and you add to it, and um, the band that is a part of it have all contributed in their own right, just amazing things. Kenny Banks, hey Kenny, and Trevor Wolford actually helped write co-write a bunch of the songs on the record. So
So,
I'm really, I love working with them. I love writing with people where it's like you don't even have to really think about it. You just sit down and just write. Ken,
yeah.
every time Kenny and I sit down and write, we probably could have like 10 albums if we just didn't
Man.
overthink it. We just sat down and just wrote a bunch of stuff. And I think that's rare to find that kind of relationship as well. So yeah, that this album, Marrow is what it's called, has kind of developed that way.
And where does the title come from?
So when I started writing, I was coming from a place of wanting to find me authentically, um, because Atlanta is like such a soul place, and then there's jazz and there's we have all these genres and pockets of music, and I've been doing this a long time, so I've been around in so many pockets of it as a singer for hire and things like that. It gets kind of um I don't want to say difficult, but like as a singer for hire, you have to figure out what your real voice is, like what your sound really is. And so I wanted this record to be that, like me figure out my voice, me at my core, who I am. I wanted it to be grounded, centered, um, and so that feeling I kept when we were writing. I just wanted to have this feeling of being grounded and centered in the core, and that to me was like bone marrow, like the core of you. And so
Yeah.
we just kind of started calling it Marrow, and then it stuck.
So how do you know in a process like that? And maybe this is a trick question. I don't know, depending on your philosophy. But how do you know when you're putting together a project that you're done? How did you know that it was that part of it was at least done? Because right, it's not really ever done. But how did you know
Yeah,
this snapshot was complete?
I don't know. I don't really know, I mean, I feel like there comes a point where you have to, for me, I was like, okay, we set the date. We got to go record these songs. We got to do this. And I set deadlines for myself. Otherwise, I feel like it never would
Yeah,
happen. Um, I don't know when the point is where I'm like, yes, this is, I mean, I wanted to, we're in the process right now where everything's going to mastering, and I want everyone in the band to feel good about it. Like I want,
yeah,
and I think we do. Like there's always going to be little things here and there that you wish could have been done differently or something, but that's like the perfectionist in all of us. I think there is a time where you have to just say that's it has to go into the world. We can't keep messing with it. I think that's like a lot of artists have that
yeah,
same thing. We don't really ever know when to say, okay, we're done.
yeah.
I think I
Right.
rely on other people around me helping to be like, it's good, it's done, go sit down. I may never on my
Yeah.
own.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. That's definitely something I need to take away from uh what you just said, just in terms of being able to. It's that trust piece, though. Also,
Hmm.
being able to trust. Once you develop that trust with those people that you're working with, you would trust them to be able to tell you it's good because they know what it represents. For you. Um, would you say that in the creation of this project, there's any common theme? Is there any subject material that you feel like has flourished without trying, or what could we
Yeah.
expect in that regard? Or,
Yeah. I just kept coming back to this theme of purpose and of life, purpose of who you are. And I think that runs through all of the songs. Whenever I write, I never like sit down and try to write a specific topic. It usually it comes with a melody or some kind of sound first, and then the sound informs the words. It's kind of a weird way of writing, maybe. So like when Kenny and I write, we maybe come up with melody first, and then the words. It's almost like the music tells you what it should say,
yeah, yeah,
rather than here's what I'm gonna write about, and sometimes I don't know what the song is about until it's done, honestly, because I'm just allowing things to try to come. And then other times I've written a part of a song and have a first verse and a chorus, and now I have to think about the second verse and how to make it fit with
yeah,
the rest of it. Um, but yeah, purpose, knowing that we all have light and purpose inside of us is kind of like the theme through all of the songs. And I think that's just where I am and have been in my life. And that just kind of, it was kind of like me telling myself and encouraging myself that you have light in you, you have purpose in life, but also telling the world that as well. So,
Yeah, that's dope. Um, it made me think of purpose as a subject. Just, I mean, I've been doing music for a long time, but I had a very interesting journey, maze-like journey so far that put me in a lot of different positions as someone who was still trying to pursue music, you know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? So I spent time as a teacher, which created me having to have like this split
Yep.
personality, as a lot of indie artists at least start out, and some never are able to get away from being a one-man band or a one-woman band.
Mm-hmm.
You can start to question your purpose. Like, am I really doing what I should be doing? Am I wasting my time? How do I keep
Yeah.
finding that motivation to keep moving on? So what is your experience been like when it comes to that? Let's say over the last, I don't know. You choose the time period, but
I
what
mean,
is it like for
man,
you?
like all the time. It's a constant, it's a constant thing. It's a crazy thing to be an artist and like pursue a real life, a beautiful and crazy thing. It's like you have to have this unyielding faith that everything's going to work out and what you're doing is what you're supposed to do, especially in terms of finances and things like that. You never really know what's happening or where things are coming from. And I feel like it's a constant up and down. But I think any artist who is passionate about what they do have in themselves this blind faith that is going to work out. Like sheer optimism
Yeah.
wins out over everything else. I've definitely gone through, I mean, I have two kids. Um, I'm not a single mom anymore, but I spent the first 10 years of their life being a single mom, basically. And so that came with so many challenges and all kinds. So there are many times where I was like, I don't even need to do this, or am I me doing this? Is it selfish? Like is it selfish to be an artist right now because I have other things I need to do? But I think at the end of the day, you always come back to being like, no, this is your purpose. And if something is your purpose, then it's gonna, no matter how much you even try to get away from it, things are still gonna come to you and
Yeah.
doors are still gonna open. And I think building a community of people who are on the same path and journey as you is really important as well, because we all uplift each other and we all
Yeah.
need it because we all get to places where we're like, man, fuck all this.
Yes, for sure.
Even right now in like coronavirus world, I've talked to several musicians who've been like, man, like I don't know, I'm about to go learn this technology or how to code websites or something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, but you just have to have this blind faith that it's going to work out.
Yeah. I mean, you know, as someone who's heard about you, I heard about you from Jamal, at WCOK here in
Oh
Atlanta. So when he recommends somebody, I'm like, oh yeah, it's hot, it's a high recommendation. But I will say that from what I've seen, things have continued to, be moving in the right direction for you. I'm glad, that it has. I think, when you're an artist and you have an idea about something, those every little piece of support that gets added it kind of helps you build an armor that you need when you go out there and you're
yeah,
fighting in the world from a creative side as well as from like a support side, like having, a rope-a-dope type of brand to be able to add its flavor, its attachment, I think is great. Partnerships I think are just as important in this industry, Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, congrats on that, for
Thank
sure. I want to ask you, I know there's not much you can probably say about the Respect movie, but for those who don't already know your involvement in it, whatever you can tell, I would love to hear it for myself as well.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, it was an honor just to be part of it. I mean, I think it took me, it was kind of like a whirlwind of unbelief that it was even happening because I mean, they treated me like I was a star on set. Like, you know, you get off the set and like now someone's standing there with slippers waiting for you. Like, do you need anything?
Wow.
Do you want tea? Like, I'm like, wait, what? It was insane. The experience was insane. And it was such a blessing. Um, so I got cast in a supporting role. The character's name is Brenda, which is awesome. So Aretha Franklin had three background sisters. Her sisters Carolyn, her sister Irma, and her cousin Brenda.
Okay.
So the Franklin family kind of like kept it really tight. I think there was a time when Sissy Houston and maybe even Dion had there were background singers for Aretha at some time,
Wow.
but the majority of her career was Irma, Carolyn, and Brenda. So
Gotcha.
I got cast as Brenda Franklin, her cousin, and yeah, I got to do all of the performance scenes, singing,
Nice.
and with Jennifer Hudson, I mean, she killed it. There were times when I felt like I was literally back in that time. Like Aretha's spirit was there for sure. It like everyone had goosebumps, tingles, just like it felt anointed and really special. And the movie is going to be incredible. The from the director, the writer, everybody involved. It was kind of like I'm not kind of. It was a dream come true, and everybody on set felt the same way. I did recently hear that because of everything that's going on, they moved the premiere date. It was supposed to be in October, but now I think it's coming out uh, Christmas Day, and then
Okay.
a real release in January. Uh,
Okay. Okay.
so hopefully, you know, it still is in time for Oscars season and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that would be.
Everyone is hoping that, you know, it goes that far because Jennifer is leading so much of it, and she won an Oscar before, so hopefully it can't happen again. And during the process, she kept saying how familiar this felt to the making of Dreamgirls, just
Wow.
like the spirit and the energy of being there, and how special it was. And yeah, everyone, Marlon Wayans is a so silly. He's a hoot for sure. Um, yeah, everyone like I got to be in some scenes with Forrest Whitaker, which was insane.
Yeah, for
um,
real.
and just to know that everyone is a beautiful person. Everyone was so nice and welcoming, and it was yeah our little family for a couple months. I got
Nice.
to film from December to February,
Oh,
so
wow.
it was
Super dope.
a dream come true.
Yeah. Forrest Whitaker, it made me think of Godfather of Harlem. There's a show on Epix with him. I
Yes.
watched that. Did you spend some time in New York, right? Or no?
Yeah. I lived there for about a year and a half. Mhm.
What's New York like? I've never lived in New York. I've been so many times, but I've never like lived in New York. And you know, when you
Mhm.
live somewhere, you really start to get a bead on it. What was that like, over a year?
New York was intense.
I believe it.
um, I feel like, you know, they say the city is buzzing, and when you go visit, you feel it. Like you automatically feel like charged. Like whatever it is about the city makes you want to grind. It makes you want to work. It makes you want to do the thing. And I feel like living there in that energy all the time is exhausting sometimes. I feel like compared to living in Atlanta, it is more of more of a little hustle, even to go to the grocery store. You like gotta walk to the grocery store, you gotta carry your groceries up 10 flights of stairs and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
it becomes a different thing. But the relationships that I made living there and the art and culture that I got to experience on a daily basis made anything that was uncomfortable completely worth it.
Wow.
And I every time I go to New York, which I try to go there every couple months, it's a beautiful experience. And I'm like, yeah, revitalized, recharged, and inspired. Like where Atlanta, I'm sorry, let me get my charger. I really hope Atlanta can get to a place where you can just go to a club and like Robert Glasper is there, just and just welcoming
Yeah.
people on stage to come jam with him. But that's like something you can find in New York often,
Yeah, for sure, for
from
sure.
the musicians and artists. So I'm going to
Wow.
charger, y'all.
That's, that's all good.
Apple wants me to get a new phone, so they don't want my phone to stay charged.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Lamaris and Carlton and Next Level. I saw all
Hey,
those people
y'all.
saying hey. Wow. So
Oh, I forgot to mention that
yeah.
the record has the producer for it is Troy Miller, which I'm really happy about that. So Troy, I got Troy because I really love Laura Invola's music and Becca Stevens and Jacob Collier and Gregory Porter. And I realized that he was the the through thread, the person that like produced
Wow.
all of their music. And so actually, thank you, Instagram. I reached out to him on Instagram and I was like, yo, we got these songs and I'd like to send them to you and see what you think. And I sent them to him. He really liked them a lot, and yeah, he ended up producing the record and mixing it. So
Wow.
really, really happy about that as well.
That's for everybody out there who's wondering whether or not they want to reach out to somebody on Instagram. It's
Yeah,
happened for me too in terms of making some great connections, but
yeah,
that's tremendous to be able
yeah.
to do that.
That's
Wow.
like crazy optimism I was talking about.
Yeah.
Like you just because some people will be like, "That's crazy," but I'm like, "What's the worst that can happen? Is they don't respond or they say no." Like you're gonna keep going, but you got to shoot your shot.
Got to.
You got to
Got
shoot
to.
it.
On the subject of performing, especially during this time frame, I did the Buteco Fest
Mhm.
stream. I know you were a part of that as well.
Mhm.
What's and I'm assuming, but if you have seen any live streams, uh, watching them versus performing for them, what's been the difference? Like how, as a performer who performs in front of people and that type of thing, I'm curious your takeaway from that type of experience.
It was an interesting experience. I did one for Buteco. That was my first one. I will do some more. Uh,
Nice.
but yeah, not having an audience there, for me, completely changed it.
Yeah.
I feed off energy from the audience, and I also think I don't know. I feel like it creates a special magical environment. It's kind of like what they call the magic of theater. Like whatever, when the audience gets there, it doesn't matter what happened. For some reason, somehow things just feel different and they work and they come together. I
Yeah.
feel like that is a thing missing, not having a real audience.
Yeah, for sure.
um, so it's gonna take me some getting used to, but I am grateful that we have the platform to do this because if this had been 20 years ago or something, this wouldn't be an option at all. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that it exists. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. I also did one for Atlanta Jazz Festival, which I think they're gonna. I don't know when they're airing it. They're doing it's like their 31 days of jazz. Um,
Nice.
so they're airing a different one every day. And that was we had like this grand piano and this beautiful room and just no one, no, no one there. So
Yeah, it's a thing. It's I imagine like what if Whitney Houston was singing like "I Will Always Love You" for a live stream,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, and she's like at the end and opens her eye like, is nobody's here? Oh well, damn. Next,
Just nothing.
okay, for my next song, you know, it's definitely sterile.
It's very, that is a great word for it. Yep.
What are your plans for promoting the album? I mean, I know from a live performance standpoint, things are still a little up in the air.
Yeah.
But you know, I think there is some optimism about where things will be in the fall and all of that type of stuff.
Mhm.
The official release date, it's August, right, for the album?
August 7th. Yeah.
August 7th. And I'm sure you're got a game plan together for things that you want to try to do in support of that. But is there anything like that that we could know about, or you know?
I mean, there's supposed to be a tour in August from August 15th through like the 28th, I think. Um, but I do not know what's going to happen with those shows.
For
Um,
sure.
there's like Charlotte, Asheville, Philadelphia, New York,
Oh yeah.
Winston-Salem, Richmond. So, I mean, you know, we'll see if they don't happen in August, they'll get rescheduled for another time and they'll happen eventually. But I'm hoping to have there definitely will be an album release here, but I just
Okay.
don't know when
Yeah.
yet. I mean, the idea was to do it on the 7th, but and it may still happen on the 7th, but yeah, it's just a crazy time for live shows. But
Yeah.
I do have a publicist and the record label and stuff, and they'll be pushing it.
That's dope.
Um, I really wanted to make sure this record had a team of people to help get it out into the world. Um, all of my other ones have been independently released, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job with getting it out as what my capacity could do.
Yeah.
Um, so this is the first time I'll have like a team helping. So I'm excited to see how far it can go, you know.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
there will be, if not live shows, there will be some virtual shows. There's a music video and single will start coming out at the end of June. There'll
Okay.
be a single in July and then the record in August.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. Like that's the real thing right there.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
got to give shout out to City of Atlanta for helping me to produce it because when I was fundraising for it, they helped get on board for that. Um,
Nice.
and and I think that's because my other background outside of music is arts in nonprofit. So I kind of fundraised in a nonprofit way so that when I was fundraising for the record, everything was tax deductible and it allowed me to be able to get grant funding and stuff like that for the record. So
Smart. I
have
think that's an unsung type of quality or skill that most indie artists don't realize they could use in
yeah.
order to help themselves, you know, get further along in whatever their creative pursuit is. That's a classic example right there.
Oh, yeah, there's so much money out there for the arts. But I think yeah, most people just don't know where to look for it or how to get started with it. But it's definitely out there and exists, and people want to help get new music made. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what's up. What about photography? What drew you to that?
I have
Because I've seen your photography.
so many things.
Yeah, right. I'm like,
um, I do photography freelance. It kind of started as just like a passion. I picked up a film camera, a Rolleiflex years ago, maybe 7, 8 years ago at this point. And then eventually I got a digital camera and I've just been doing it freelance and I really enjoy it. I mean, to me, it's all telling stories, just like music. So it's just another way of telling a story. Um, and so yeah, I have a website for that, which is brendanicolephotos.com. And people can hire me to come take photos of them
That's what's up.
if they want to.
Have you
Um,
been doing any of that during this time period? Or what have you been doing during this time period, if not that?
I've just been writing, and I do have two other businesses that I've kind of started or in the process of starting. One is Touch and Agree, which is a nonprofit music organization,
Nice.
which had been going a couple months before all this shut down. Um, so I've just been trying to revamp how I'm doing that. And then I also have a new kind of like community that I've built called Black Female Creatives, and that's been growing pretty strong. I think I've got like maybe 8,500 followers on Instagram, and I just started a few months ago. But that is existing just to Black female creatives who work in creative industries, everything from directing to producing, and just having more of our faces out there,
Yeah.
and having a place where we can all come together and help each other. So I've been working on that. Um, I I just started announcing that I'm gonna start doing some more photography stuff. Mostly, I've been trying to finish getting the record done.
Yeah, no.
Just all the stuff that goes into that. There's so much energy that goes into doing anything. Um, the record has been a lot of energy, so that has been the majority of my time. But yeah, I've got all these other side projects that all come back.
Yeah. That's what's
Yeah.
up. I'm glad you were able to take some time and uh, enlighten me and people who, you know, watch this. This is, when you get into something new as I have, it's very important to kind of get that initial support. You're so
Mhm.
fragile.
Yeah.
Uh, so,
I'm
you
so
know,
glad you're doing this.
yeah, like when I asked you, you were immediately like, yeah, sure.
Of
And I'm like,
course.
huh, whew,
I'll do
you
whatever
know,
you want, so because
I
you're awesome.
appreciate you. Thank you. I am trying to get better with this whole Instagram shutdown thing because they have us on a timer. So I wanted to I think everything that we've touched on is really just the tip of the iceberg. You've always come across to me as a very thoughtful person and genuine, you
Oh,
know. And I appreciate that in the music industry because the music industry it can be so absent of that type of